Georgia. I've heard about the garden through my mother, and I'm interested in ecology and food sustainability and food security, and I really want to see where this project goes in the future.
Okay.
And I'm Mariana, one of the committee with Linda and others, under obviously the lead that Kirsty Sutherland has had in trying to save the garden, because we want to ensure that it's not lost to housing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work to do to make that happen.
I'm Linda. I'm a friend of the walled garden. I'm just passionate about saving the garden and the history that surrounds that area, really, but also keeping it for the community and not having houses built on it when it's the only piece of unpolluted land in the area. In 10, 20 years' time, people would say, my goodness, what did they do?
It's saving a historic area that has been used continuously to grow food in this area.
And I think it's very short-sighted of the developers not to realise that between Caroline Park House, this walled garden, it could be the draw for the whole area, and then cities around the world where they've developed the waterfronts. There needs to be something to draw the people in, and they have got the history there. It's forgotten in Maine, but you know, it could all be pulled together. And you see, there's this company called EDI, which is one and the same as the council. It's the council's development company, and the plans, if they had got full planning permission, the plans would have the permissions would have lasted for 5 or 6 years, and then they would have lapsed. But there's a sort of loophole in the law where they never signed them off completely, and they did this thing called minded to grant, and they've just sort of sat there. And now, if they want to activate them again, it's just a question of ticking a box.
Right.
And all these years later, they could, could go ahead again. Obviously, they've maybe changed things slightly because things have changed in these years, but they still would have the permission to build houses on that garden. So this is a bit of a loophole, and we did have a deputation to the planning committee about that, and they said they were quite interested in taking it forward. But
in that decade that's passed, there's been a huge change both in things like energy and environmental conservation, the laws that are being proposed, so that the whole national environment has changed and the planning environment has changed. But because of this loophole, these developers might manage to push it through. And so we're really very worried and been trying to get quite a bit of information out there in the press and STV and others to try and make people realise what a loss it would be. So what happens now? What do we need to do? Well, on the 29th of July, the planning subcommittee meets to decide on the future of the walled garden, Granton Castle walled garden. The thing that's really changed since the past few months is that Historic Scotland has just now upgraded the listing of the garden to B listing, which is great. So the whole garden is now covered by B listing. And this should improve our case to the planning subcommittee. Our friends group's going to go along on Wednesday the 29th of July to the planning subcommittee to present our legal case. And we want to have as much support from the local and national community for the garden at that time, because it is the oldest walled garden in Edinburgh and one of the oldest in the whole of Scotland, so it's really very important historical importance. So what we're wanting is for you to visit our website. If you Google Granton Castle Walled Garden, you'll find it. You can join our friends group. You can like our Facebook page. All of these you can do to show your support. So please do that.